time defensive linemen. We love to get these guys. Your thoughts, your feelings. How we looking?
Yeah, so with Vladin Sone, man, it's a guy Florida has hosted about 6 or 7 times. A guy that even when the 2025 class was in the spotlight, this is a guy, obviously a junior at the time, going to be in the middle of his junior year. And Florida put a lot of work in. A guy, when you see him on campus, he looks like a college player already, physically imposing kid. He's with the PPI recruits, obviously the European-based guys, Onus Kanabani, a bunch of guys that Florida has had a lot of familiarity and success with recruiting those national type players. And usually a lot of those guys that need time to develop. But when you see Sone, I mean, the kid's a beast. When I saw him on campus for the Orange and Blue game, he was from the side, so you couldn't really see his face yet. And I was like, man, who the hell is that? I was thinking he was a player, maybe just not dressed for the game. And then same with Joseph and Bachu. They come from the same, PPI recruit, same organization, both super physically opposing kids. And I know Florida feels as if Sone is a guy that can play early in his career. They think physically he can hold up in SEC. More advanced for a guy. He's from Sweden. And I think he lives in Missouri now as far as where he attends high school. But Florida's in a great spot. Nebraska and Oklahoma are probably the top competition right now. But familiarity, I think the biggest thing, they always say track the visits and recruiting. And, 6 or 7 trips for an out-of-state kid coming back on June 14th. I think that's the biggest thing. He's coming June 14th, and he doesn't know when he wants to make a commitment, but it's going to be after his OVs. And Florida's kind of lined up as the last OV for him. And a lot of kids will do that, to kind of let that school leave the last impression on them. But as of right now, I know Florida's optimistic. I know it's one of the top targets for Gerald Chapman. I know you guys probably saw on Twitter today, went and saw him again today. So anytime they have a chance to go see this kid, they do. And I think it's that hospitality around the staff. Again, the culture, environment, him just feeling comfortable around these guys that has Florida in the driver's seat from what everyone I've spoken to. I know OVs. I mean, you never know. I mean, the kid put out a top 8, but really, like I said, Florida, Oklahoma, and Nebraska are the 3 we should be focusing on. And if today was, the day he was deciding, I think myself, Blake, a lot of us would definitely be rolling with Florida. So I feel good about that pick.
6 or 7 visits works unless Miami is in the mix.
Yeah.
Little.
Yeah, right. Unless a huge bag just comes away. What about that? That was a crazy. 2.5 in year one?
I'm here. We're gonna talk about it later, but I'm hearing $5 million now from Austin Brooks is the number being tossed. I mean, that's kind of how it works,
Yeah.
right? The number starts and it slowly climbs up. But
And,
so
and the thing is, too, he's a beast. I get it. Like, I get it. Like, as far as these offensive linemen, I mean, it's crazy. I think Jackson Cantal, I think he's obviously elite, right? Number one offensive tackle. But I don't know if, like, to me, like, I was watching this film yesterday. I don't know if he's, like, my number one overall player, but I think he's, like, the number one offensive tackle in the country. But no, as far as that lean body, but big, I mean, he has that makings of that prototypical dude. And you guys saw the Mario Cristobal reaction at the
yeah,
him fucking pumping his hands. So, I mean, I get it. But, yeah, that's a crazy number to be throwing around.
little cheese ball. But yeah, back to Sone though. The big part, I love that Chapman's being highly invested in. I think Chapman, I mean, look, obviously being looked at by the NFL this past season, the
Yeah.
Gators were fighting tooth and nail to keep him signed and up to his contract. I think he produced a lot of value last year, and I think defensive lineman. And look, I think what the O line did last year and the potential it has this year, I think has a big turnaround. And we've talked about this before when you're on the show of why I think this
Mhm.
offensive line recruiting seems to be ramping up as well. Dave was upset because why can't we get the big 5-star guys? I just don't see Florida. I don't see them putting 2.5 into a bucket for one guy. And we're going to talk about that again at the end of the show because I think Georgia kind of took that same stance of like, look, we'll pay you, but we're not going to
Mhm.
overpay you. And look, schools like Georgia and Ohio State and Oregon, they kind of have a little bit of a stance where they can take the discounted route of we have
Yeah.
the championships and the production to say we don't need to pay you this because we're going to make it up for it in these areas, which we'll get to more into that. But yeah, love hearing
Yeah.
this about Sone. What's the man, the other kid? I think we're getting a lot of buzz around too. I want to get your thoughts on it. What Vodney,
Yeah.
yeah. How we looking on
It's-
him?
Yeah, so I spoke to him. What was it? Not long after the Orange and Blue game, when we saw him in person, I didn't see him, but he told other reporters like, "Hey, man, like I don't want to do interviews." So I waited a few days, called him on the phone, and yeah, he said, "Yeah, Florida's probably my number one right now." And that was a big coming from a kid previously committed to Alabama,
Kid's
has
a
Texas, all
stud.
these big schools. Yeah, no, another kid
Yeah.
that Florida's giving a lot of attention to. When you see him on campus, assistant D line coach Jeremy Patterson, Billy Napier, Chapman, they're always right around this kid. You can tell he's always getting the red carpet treatment. every time he's on campus. He visited, I believe, 3 times this year.
To Rocket Money, one of our sponsors for today's show. You sign up for something, forget about it after the trial period ends, then you're charged month after month after month. The subscriptions are there, but you're not using them. In fact, I just learned that 85% of people have at least one paid subscription going unused each month. Thanks to Rocket Money, I can see all my subscriptions in one place and cancel the ones I'm not using anymore. And now, I'm saving money. Listen, y'all know we love Rocket Money here at Hightop Sports. We talk about them quite oftenly for a handful of reasons. Number one, because you're able to monitor your subscriptions. Number two, which I always love, is that you can cancel your subscriptions through the app, which is fantastic versus having to log in, see which app it is. You see it all in one place, and you can click it through the app, and they will handle the dirty work for you. Thirdly, which again is one of also my favorite features, is their little personal account. You can set up budgets for how you want to spend things with that certain month, whether it be shopping, whether it be movies, whether it be entertainment, all those things you can separate your little personal accountant in the palm of your hand to allow you to save more money and put more money back in your pocket. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find your cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and saved a total of $500 million on canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions to reach your financial goals faster with rocketmoney.com. Go to rocketmoney.com/hightopsports today. rocketmoney.com/hightopsports today. The link is in the description for rocketmoney.com/hightopsports.
Here has an OV coming up, and I think right now it's probably, in my opinion, Florida and Texas, because he did go to Texas not long ago, and I know Longhorns reporters, from what they were hearing in Austin, same with Kendall Gervil, same did. They both felt as if Texas made a big move for both those kids. So it's a fairly tight race, but I think right now when you look at D-line recruiting, Vodney Cleveland, Vladin, Sone, those are two guys that are probably two of the more realistic guys that Florida wants. And like you said, Gerald Chapman, since he's he's really established himself as one of the better recruiters. Really, I think one word that kind of comes to mind for him is determined. A guy that really is like getting on the road and like spending time with these kids. And even Jarrell McCoy, who is kind of like a tweener D lineman, could be an edge. He said, hey, that's my best relationship in recruiting. So I think he doesn't get enough credit as maybe I think it nationally as he should get, because right now I think with Florida having one commitment, people want to say like, hey, it's not about where you finish. You have to get these kids in the fold. But I think by the time this class is almost done, end of summer, I think the D-line class could be really good. And Vodney Cleveland's one of the more realistic guys. I just think the OV to Florida here on May 30th in a few weeks from now is going to be huge. But they're going to have to fend off some other schools too. I feel better about Vladin Sone a little bit more than I do with Vodney, just because of that Texas. Texas does a good job, man. When they get kids on campus, they really can sway these kids and get the momentum going. Where I think with Vladin Sone, the good thing with this recruitment is, all these schools have got him on campus a lot, and Florida has still been able to maintain that momentum. But either way, I think Vodney Cleveland and Vladin Sone probably the two most realistic out-of-state guys.
Lamborghinis can sell, Corey.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Lots of
that's why every time Texas is a big recruiting weekend, I'll go click their insiders, like what they have, the info they get. And man, it's like this guy, like Texas in the driver's seat for this guy. They have him with Kendall Gervil, who's a little bit more mysterious with his recruitment. He's going to take it to December. But yeah, they get, like you said, they get kids on campus, and that's all. I mean, like you said, Lambos. I mean,
They've ripped a lot. They've ripped Xavier, Jarrett Gibson, Phil Simay. That's Xavier. Mabachu, we were able to get him back. DeAndre Robinson, we were able to get him back. He left again. But some guys I
remember Cedric Baxter too when they signed him out of Orlando, and he was a stud, man. I mean, he's supposed to be, I think, a first-round pick.
Colin Simmons felt like we had good relations with the DJ Lagway, and that kid's a stud.
Yeah,
of all those kids you mentioned, Cedric Baxter. I don't know if you guys have seen that kid in person. That kid, he kind of reminds me, man, 6'2" almost. I mean, one of the more physically imposing running backs I've ever seen in recruiting. Like, when we saw him on Under Armour weekend, he looked like a dude almost about to go in the NFL. I was like, he looked like a linebacker playing running back, but like you could tell, okay, this dude's going to be a pro. As long as he doesn't get injured and stuff, like there's no way this dude isn't like a pro down the line. And I saw a mock draft yesterday, and it was like has him in the first round. I feel like he just got to Texas. Like it just feels like he just got there. But yeah, we'll see though. Florida and Texas are battling for a lot of top kids. I think it's going to be one of those cycles again where OVs are going to be huge this summer, man. And I think Florida, especially D-line, Florida and Texas, a lot of D-linemen they're competing for.
Yeah, and Florida's track record since Billy Napier's gotten here, especially with Gerald Chapman, they've done a really good job at defensive line, and getting in the
Yeah.
McCrays and getting in the 2023 class was loaded with defensive linemen. So that makes me feel good because the defensive linemen, and of course you're going to lose quite a bit this year with Caleb Banks and some of those other
Yeah.
guys, Sapp, and
Sap, yeah.
so you're going to really need to build up some of that depth and some of that future depth. Also, probably you may dip into the portal and get a guy or two for the D line just for experience wise. But Florida's done a great job with D linemen and recruiting them to University of Florida. So that's good news. And I hear some things too. Corey, I got a little bit of my sources too. So I'm feeling really, really good about D line recruiting right now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Kendall Gervil and I think James Johnson, who's at Miami Northwestern now, he's
Yeah.
probably at the top of the board. I mean, that kid's a beast. I know on 3, I think he's still number 1 ranked D lineman, but I know that's a kid. If Florida can, I mean, that's like their jewel. I mean, all these kids they want, but I know that's a kid they really, really want. And Kendall Gervil, too. When we're at the Orange and Blue game, Chapman was off to the side in a golf cart. We're interviewing Kendall Gervil, and he's like in the background joking. He's like, man, if I don't get Kendall Gervil, I'm going to lose my job, like just joking around. And like, he just constantly is like, go Gators, like, tell him Florida's leading. Like, just joke. He's a jokester, man, that type of coach. But you can tell like Gervil's another guy, like they're really all in on. And we'll see if they can get him in the fold.
Good. Make him think he's going to lose his job. Good.
Yeah,
No, he's on the golf cart. He's shouting. He's like, if I don't get Kendall Gervil, I'm going to lose my job. Kendall Gervil's a Gator. Like, he's just yelling. Gervil's dying laughing this whole interview. He could, he's eating at the same time, and he couldn't even get his words out. And you could tell he's so comfortable at Florida. But it kind of reminds me of Derek LeBlanc a few cycles ago.
Yeah,
A kid that almost
kid.
visits so many times where it almost, not saying it gets stale, but it's like he's like there's nothing. It's not as flashy as it used to be because he's been there so much. But I feel definitely a little bit better about this one. Florida will be in it to the end.